Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today we are talking about this book, Practical Magic for Beginners, Techniques and Rituals to Focus Magical Energy by Brandy Williams. So if you don't know, a few weeks ago I read her book, what was it, like Cord Magic, and it's definitely newer than this one. And so her writing style has changed a little bit over the years and I think it's for the better, but let's jump into this one. So when I read this and when I saw it and I was like, yeah, this is one that I want to buy, I was hoping that it would be more actual practical magic for beginners, aka it's not going to be terribly complicated. You're not going to need a lot of stuff. You can, easily incorporate it into your life. That's what I was hoping for. Now, with it being for beginners, I realized that it would be a lot simpler than I probably needed it to be. Again, those of us who've been practicing for 10, 20, 30 years, we don't necessarily always need to jump back to the basics all the time. So that was a little like, okay, keep your expectations low. But the thing I didn't realize is that it really is focused mostly on the little tagline underneath, which is to focus magical energy. I didn't realize that. So that was a little, like, it took a while to be like, okay, that's what this book is about. So this is really the book on energy work. Now, if you're wanting to get into energy work and manifesting and the law of attraction and affirmations and stuff like that and incorporating just a little bit of other ingredients and magical things, this is a great resource. Would I say it's good for a beginner? Probably not. I feel like it is, but it isn't. If it's your first book on witchcraft or Wicca or whatever, not this one. I don't feel like she explains the things enough to justify it being like your first book you ever read. However, if you've been practicing for a few months and you're still, you've read a few books at this point and you're starting to learn some things, this will be a good one to start to incorporate. And then when the topics that she brings up interest you, go forth, look it up, learn more about those things, because she really doesn't explain them that well. It's just kind of briefly touched on and then we continue on our way. But again, it's a book for beginners, so maybe don't waste too much time on topics that not everyone's gonna enjoy. One thing I really did love about this book is that the rituals in the back of the book, aka probably I would qualify more as spells, not rituals, but whatever, the things in the back of the book to do, I really, really appreciate that she did take the time to explain a situation in which you would want to do this type of a spell and talks about follow-up and different things you can do with each one. Really loved that. They were all kind of the same basic premise of like how to set up a ritual, how to set up your spell, whatever, which it happens. Eventually you do get into this rut of like, I'm gonna do a spell. These are the things that I need to do, especially as writers. I feel like every author kind of has their own, like, they just kind of formulate a way that works and then they just write it and they're like, this is how I do it. And that's great because then you can look at those and see, how every author does it differently and see what, system is going to work for you, combination of them, whatever. Now, if you are a more seasoned witch, I don't know that you would want to pick this one up simply because it is really aimed at beginners. The title did not lie. There was not that much new information. It's really, again, your Witchcraft 101 kind of a book. But if you're new to like working with energy or again like law of attraction, affirmation kind of stuff, and like just kind of mindfulness in general, like this might be a good resource for you. Just not to say that you won't learn something new from it. It really just depends on what have you learned at this point. Like for me, there's still stuff that I'll be adding into my own Book of Shadows. Like there was one on how to find like the planetary hours in a day. And as I'm starting to work more towards that and like kind of, for me that's like leveling up in my witchcraft because I haven't done that. So it's a lot of math and I did not love math in school. I've really enjoyed adulting where you don't have to do that much. So it's like, all right, fine, I can do a little bit of math, and it includes the whole formula of how to get them because it does matter. So like that's something that it's like, oh, like I've probably read it before, but I never really thought about it until now because it's something that I'm actively, starting to incorporate. So like that's something, and like everyone's gonna have their own like, oh, I never learned about this, but I'm gonna, start learning about it at this point kind of a deal. So of course you can pick this up and you might find some good information from it. But again, if you're seasoned, you may not have that situation, and even like intermediate may or may not. But as a beginner, again, not your first book, but one of your first few books that you're picking up on witchcraft, it could be definitely a good resource for you to start and learn just a little bit. And the exercises, I feel like you would definitely get something out of. So, of course, we'll be continuing the conversation on Patreon with the extended discussion where I have like 3 pages of notes that we'll be going over. So, check that out. I always have it linked down below. Till next time, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all later.